So, okay, so we've done this before, and in fact, there are other recordings of a similar session we did about families. And the reason we're talking about families is because it's such an important part of the program. You know that all our placements include family accommodation, and the question, or the issue is, let's say, matching your expectations to the family expectations, right? So, you know, on paper, it says, okay, the family's going to offer you a single room, all your meals, family life, okay, which means you join in, you participate with family life, transportation to and from the school, okay, advice, obviously, local advice, local information, goodwill. The goodwill we're talking about, there's no money involved, okay? So they can't say, well, you know, if you want extra, you know, if you're allergic to lactose and you need soya milk or oat milk, you're going to have to pay. That's not acceptable, okay? Home from home. So that should be your home. The family's home will be your home for the time that you're in Spain. And medical advice. This is very important. Medical advice in two senses. One, obviously, you know, if you have a sore throat or something, or a cough or an allergy, they might say, well, we use this particular medicine, why don't you try it? Or more specifically, if you needed to go to the doctor or you needed to go to a hospital with something more urgent, that they would be able to accompany you and tell you where to go. One of the first things they do to us is say, what do we do? What do we do? Okay, so it's very important that you actually bring your insurance documents with you and that you show them to the family, although we will be, you know, we won't share them with the school actually when allowed to, okay, but we will hold copies of your insurance documents. And obviously, Frida, you'll be getting the European health card before you come, please, okay? The European health card, which we'll find out how to get that, but it's a simple process you can do online, which means that you have complete and immediate access to the Spanish health system, the same as you would to the German health system.
Okay.
Now, the volunteers will offer 5 hours a week. Those are 5 hours a week specifically dedicated to the kids at home, okay? And we talk about 5 hours, you know, English. So it might be the kids need some help with their homework. It might be that the kids might be sitting and reading with them. Yeah. It might be actually taking them to the park and playing with them. It's by no means an au pair position, okay? So you're not cleaning up after the kids. You're not cleaning the kids' rooms. You're not, you know, you might prepare them for a party as part of those 5 weeks, or if you know how to play a musical instrument, and it coincides, you might teach them some music, okay? But it should be something which is creative and positive and you're doing with the kids, because that's what the families want. They want somebody who's at home to practice English with the kids. All right. You will offer English, might be German as well, Frida, but mainly English. And the parents just love, I mean, the one thing you've got to say to the parents, first of all, you say, your kids are lovely. And second, you say, their English is really good, or I'm really surprised at their English, okay? Even if it's not true. Now, this means that the parents want to see that the children are practicing English. And the most visible place, I can tell you, the most visible place is always at the dinner table. Okay, so if you can just make sure that you're speaking English with the kids in the home, and particularly at the dinner table, then the parents absolutely love it. Okay, some parents might be on a kind of slightly false impression that you're going to be sit down and kind of giving them formal lessons in English. We told them this is not the case, okay? You're not going to teach them English, you're going to help them practice English. Right. Participation at home as another family member. That means if you go shopping, if you're doing the gardening, if you're doing the cleaning, keeping your own space nice and clean, nice and clear. Spanish houses are spotless. You can't believe Spanish homes, all right? You go into a lot of Spanish homes and listen, and you will remember what I'm telling you now. A lot of Spanish homes, you go in, it looks like nobody has lived there. Literally, there's like, wow, it's so clean and so tidy. Like, who's living here? So keep things nice and tidy. Right. Goodwill, again. You will be offered the chance to give extra English tuition in your community, or German. People will come to you, oh, look, my kids want some English classes. Can you come over to my place a couple of evenings a week? I will pay you 10, 12, 13, 14 euros an hour, you know? That's absolutely fine, but not your host family. Okay, so you can't ask for any money from the host family. That's got to be goodwill again. So goodwill, we class here as giving something and not expecting payment for it. Okay. Right, engagement with the family. And this is a very, very big thing. You will need your downtime. You will have your downtime. But the family want you to engage. They want you to be part of the family, to join in, you know, to ask questions. Tell us about this, tell us about that, okay? And again, to be part of family life. I think the one thing which Spanish families don't understand very often is that you are young people, and I'm talking 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, people who need their downtime, people who need to connect with the people back home, people who need to be, once in a while, just collect your thoughts and to be alone. Spanish people don't understand why anybody would want to be alone, okay? So you need to balance that, all right? You need to balance that, and especially when you're arriving, where you might be used to going to bed at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock in the evening, and Spanish families, well, they're still going at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. All right, initially that's going to be difficult for you. You're going to be tired. Look, I'm going to bed, and they'll be going, but the kids haven't even gone to bed yet. Okay, so don't worry, you'll get used to it. Okay, what we don't want is, one of the biggest dangers is isolation. Isolation, meaning that volunteers spend too much time at home alone. Okay, in your room alone. Too much time, okay? You manage your time, manage your day. You're here to see a country, to learn about different communities and different people. Okay, what's a family? Well, you've got a man and a woman. You've got a man and a woman and a baby and a boy and a girl and a dog. And next one, you've got a man and a woman and a dog and a baby. And then you've got a man and a woman who are expecting a baby. But on the next line, we've got two women and kids and dog and baby, no baby, waiting for a baby. Or two guys, absolutely fine. None, to be honest, very few of our families are even divorced. Spain is still quite traditional. The divorce rate is rising. The number of single-sex couples is very, very few. We haven't had a single-sex family taking in any of our volunteers. But, you know, these rights are protected by law in Spain. And so these are what we consider to be a family unit. They might be different, they might be the same. Enjoy the differences, okay? Enjoy the differences. If you ever feel uncomfortable, let me know. If you ever feel uncomfortable. We had, I interviewed somebody the other day. I said, have you got any brothers and sisters? She said, yes, I've got 4 brothers. I thought, that's nice. And 8 sisters. I said, wow, wow, 13, right, at home, plus mum and dad, 15. Now, how would you integrate into such a big family? Or how would she integrate in a family with just one child? Both ways is going to be challenges. Anyway, you won't have any families with 15 siblings. All right, here we go. Here's some families. What's a Spanish family? What's a Spanish family, really? Let's see. Do you know any of them? Do you know that first family? You know the first family on the left at the top?
I don't.
You don't? Oh my God.
No.
Regan, any idea who they might be?
This in
Sorry?
government?
Yeah, more or less. It's the Spanish royal family. Okay, that's the Spanish royal family. So it's the king, the queen, and the 2 daughters. I think it's the oldest daughter is called Sophia or Eleanor. I can't remember. The royal family are not particularly important for Spain. You know, it's a very modern kind of royal family. The queen used to be a newsreader, a news presenter on TV, and the king said, oh, I like her, let's invite her to a party, and they ended up getting married or something like this. The 2 daughters, again, they're just normal people of their age. I think they're 16 and 18. You know, they've both done gap years abroad, which we're very happy about. Not with us. They went to Wales in the United Kingdom. Okay, so there's a typical family, but you know, quite contemporary in their values. You won't be staying with them. You won't be staying with the royal family. I guarantee you. Okay. What about the second family on the right? What can you see there? I can tell you they're in a city called Seville, which is in the south of Spain. Can you notice anything about them?
The dresses, they're very pretty.
Yeah. Do they have anything in common? I mean, do they all look, you know, do they look like, do you think they're Germans or Finnish or Spanish or Moroccan? Where do you think they're from? Any ideas? Or why would they be dressed like that? Which people, you know, not every day, but would put on this kind of these kind of clothes? Any ideas? No. Okay. Go on. Sorry.
A little lost. Is it Spanish dresses or is it a different European dress?
This is very typical from Andalusia in the south of Spain. So if you went to a wedding or some kind of celebration, yeah, you know, they would be dressed like this typically. All right. And these are actually gypsies. Okay. These are people of the gypsy ethnicity, gypsies who originated excuse me, who originated in India, and they've been a race of people who have traveled throughout the world. And it's a very popular part of, let's say, southern Spanish culture. And these people were acting in a kind of reality show. So let's imagine maybe an equivalent to the Kardashians, all right? So this particular gypsy family who would, you know, kind of too flamboyant to be true, you know. So there we go. So that'd be a gypsy family. I don't think that any of, I mean, gypsies, and this is an important thing about racism and ethnicity in Spain, that gypsies to a certain extent are still discriminated against in one way, but in another way, they're celebrated for their flamboyance and their musical, you know, heritage and the flamenco music. So it's a bit of a contradiction. But anyway, you're going to be somewhere between the two. If we ask most Spanish families who they model themselves on, I can tell you that they would model themselves more on the royal family, okay, and less on the gypsy family, except when they go to a wedding, when they're probably going to dress up much the same way, depending on which part of Spain they're from. There will be differences, okay? So Will and Frida, who are going to be in Castile, people are somewhat more reserved. In the Basque Country, people are, you know, this is us, you know, take us as you find us, right? They're a little more conservative in Castile, in central Spain, in their attitudes, not necessarily in their politics, but they might not talk about politics or give you their opinions on certain things. In the Basque Country, they will give you their opinion about everything, okay? That's just one of the traits. They're very, very open. And down at the bottom, you can see these two other families. And if you look at them, this is actually from a Spanish television series, which finished last week. So it started about 25 years ago. And last week was the last, okay, last week was the last episode ever after 25 years. And what's the difference? Well, the difference is, if we look down here, you've got, this was the main character, this guy with the light suit. And this actually started when he was about 10 years old, okay, in real life. And if we go over to the other side, he's disappeared from the series, but we've got the elder brother who's there, the elder sister, mum and dad, who look much the same. But in the, let's say 22 years ago or 25 years ago, it was a typical family with three kids, mum, dad, and the grandmum living at home. Now it's evolved into, you know, the same number of kids, but it turns out, you know, one is in a same-sex relationship. They've got an adopted child. One of them got married to an Israeli. Somebody else, you know, has decided to, what's the word? To have a child with in vitro fertilization, so there's no father on the scene. Okay, so you know, it's just evolving and how people have evolved, and that's how Spanish families have evolved generally. Okay, so these are Spanish families. As I say, yours are going to be more like the guys at the top, like the royal family, even the way they dress. The Spanish families, wow, Spanish families and Spanish people, you look at them sometimes and go, wow, they really spend a lot of time getting it just right, okay? Getting their clothes just right. Won't see too many guys wearing suits, but, you know, people do spend a lot of time thinking about their appearance. Appearance. You guys are going to be absolutely fine, but we do have a couple of rules and you do have to clear them up yourself. I'm going to ask you to clear them up yourselves, depending on the school where you are placed. Things like visible tattoos or piercing, T-shirts or clothes with openly political messages might be welcomed or might not. Okay, so these are things you can ask me, and I'm absolutely happy to give you my opinion and my advice. Right?
I
In
was
some,
thinking about the tattoos.
sorry.
Just quickly with the tattoos, I have an appointment for one, and it's a pretty meaningful tattoo. I
Yeah,
wasn't quite sure. It's literally just an outline of my cat. It's nothing
it's
big. It's
nice.
just on my shoulder.
No, but I mean, it's not like on your forehead. You know, it's not
No,
right.
on my
Manchester
shoulder.
United, or
Yeah.
home sweet home. You know, or if
And
it won't. No, that won't be a problem at all. You know, and we can't say, well, gosh, it's not even visible. So
yeah.
not a problem at all. Okay.
Okay, just
Yeah,
checking.
there's a couple of schools down in there's a couple of schools down in Valencia, actually, one in Vitoria, where they might be interested. They would be interested to know if beforehand if you're going to be coming with particular kind of appearance, if you class yourself as a goth or some other kind of urban tribe, then I mean, let us know, and I'll just make sure that everybody's happy with that. Or you can ask the placement yourself. Okay, they'll be in touch with you in the next 5 to 7 days. Okay. Right, so that's a Spanish family. Right, things which families do together. All right, so we talk about Spanish families. I'm recording the session again. Importantly, if you've got any questions about other things like visas and so on, arrival dates, please leave those until the end of the session. Okay, so here we go. Things which families do together. Which do you think is or are the most important? So they work together, eat together, they have celebrations, social activities, study, travel, do sport, watch TV. Which, if in your opinion, write down in the chat box, which do you think are the most important? Just choose two of all of them and write down in the chat box, which two things do you think are the most important for families? Okay, for Spanish families. Okay, I think everybody said, yeah, eat and celebrate together. Absolutely. It's eat together. Yeah. So this is one of the things you're going to have to get used to. And it is eating at specific meal times, which Spanish people tend to do. They do not understand that you might say, well, no, I'm going to be eating out. Where you're going to be eating? That's the first thing they're going to ask you. What are you going to be eating and why? Because meal times are so central to Spanish life. Okay, so that's important, with the exception of breakfast, which is a bit weaker. So lunch and dinner. Remember, lunch is going to be 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Although you might have lunch at school, but in many cases, the children will go home for lunch. All right, and the whole family turns up for lunch every day of the week. Okay, so for them, that is a kind of sacred thing. That is their meeting time. That is when they discuss things, when they give out information to each other and ask, how were your exams? Yeah, I got an 8. Oh, I failed, whatever it was. So very important, meal times. Another thing they don't accept, or sorry, they don't understand, is somebody going, no, I will get something later. It doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. I'm not hungry now, I'll have something afterwards. Wow, they would have the alarm bells ringing. You eat now with everybody. Okay. Unless you were maybe coming home from, maybe a couple of evenings a week, you're going out to Spanish classes, or you're going out to the gym or something like that, and you might say, yeah, I'm going to get back later. As long as they know, then they say, well, we'll leave you some dinner. All right. Another thing they won't want is you eating, or anybody eating, different food. So Spanish families will find it very difficult to understand that anybody, and above all our volunteers, they would find it difficult to understand anybody saying, well, I'm going to buy some snacks and bring them to the home and keep them here. They would be very offended. They would think, well, what's wrong with our food? What's wrong with the food that we're providing? Okay. And, when you go to, if they take you to the supermarket and say, well, what kind of things do you like? All right, here's an example. So our good friend, I won't say her name, wonderful volunteer, went off to the supermarket and they said, what do you like? And she said, oh, I like chocolate. All right, fine. And I like white wine. Well, okay, that's nice. We go home and have a glass of wine together. Yeah, good. So they put this stuff in the basket, they finish doing the shopping, get home, and notice the white wine and the chocolate has disappeared. She's taken it to her room. Why? Because she was a little bit older, she was like 23, I think. And she was used at home, wherever she lived beforehand, to having a glass of wine or eating a bit of chocolate in her room while she's talking to her friends using FaceTime or whatever, and they're having a laugh. The family are like, oh my God, you take alcohol into your bedroom. What's going on? Okay, so that's an idea, a very extreme idea that they wouldn't necessarily understand. Okay. And I don't think it's really acceptable to be drinking alcohol in your room. Okay. Even if you're drinking alcohol with the family, and they will offer you wine or beer. Some families drink wine with every meal, except breakfast, of course. If you want a glass of wine, you have one. It's for you. If you've never drunk alcohol before, you can. This might be a good time if you want to try it. Okay. But they're not drinking because it's a social event. It's just they drink with meals. Right. Okay, then. Other things which they're going to do together. So I cannot emphasize enough the importance of keeping meal times as a kind of your compass points or your landmark points during the day and during the week. Okay, right. Celebrations, yeah, if there are family celebrations or other social events going on, they will let you know. Are you invited? Well, you probably would be invited. But there might be some way you're not invited. It might be because it's a matter of space, wherever you're going. Might be cost. When people are invited to weddings in Spain, they're often given the option. No, they're not given the option. So if you're coming to the wedding, on the invitation, it's got the bank account number. And instead of giving a present, you are invited to make a financial contribution. I've seen wedding invitations where you're being asked to send in 150 euros per person. Okay. Wow, that includes, the wedding, the party, the meal, a couple of drinks, and a gift for the family, right? That might be a bit of a burden if they're going, well, we'll have to pay an extra 150 euros for our volunteer, however much we enjoy their company. So it might be for issues, matters of space or expense that you might not be invited to some celebrations. Okay, just have to understand that when you are invited, you are expected to go. Okay, and I will say go, because this might be a once in a lifetime event. Okay, Spanish weddings Wow, you know, they're massive. Spanish communions, massive. You don't have to believe, you don't have to take part in a ceremony or confess. All right. There is, you know, be the time at church and then the time outside, having a meal or the other celebration. Go see what it's like, see why it's important for these people. Okay. Doing sport, traveling, they tend to travel together. Again, if you are invited, so look, we're going to the Costa del Sol, which is the kind of sunny part in the south of Spain. Do you want to come? You got to ask, you got to be open, and, you know, don't flinch. Say, you know, when we go in, will I miss school? Will I have my own room, or are you taking me to look after the children? Then you trade it off, okay? Well, it's worth going to this new place for a week by the beach. Then I can look after the kids, put them to bed, no problem. Yeah, all right. And then ask, you know, do I have to pay? Are you expecting me to pay? And 9 times out of 10, you would not be expected to pay. The Spanish word to invite, invitar, means that if I invite you to the cinema or I invite you to a football match, the assumption is that I am paying for your ticket. I am paying for your meal. I am paying for your trip. Okay? It's not just accompany me to a particular place. So be careful. We have had one case where somebody was told over Easter, look, we're going to some nice place. Would you like to come? Yeah. He went, he spent a lot of time with the kids, looking after the kids, playing with the kids. You know, end of the week, they say, okay, well, you know, in total, that's 250 euros for your meals, for your hotel. And we're not charging you for the gasoline. You know, we're not charging you for transport. Wow. You know, he was rather taken aback, said, well, if I knew I was going to spend 250 euros, I would have gone camping or done something else with some other volunteers. I wouldn't have traveled with the family. So again, then doing sport, watching TV, well, yeah, it'd be ideal if everybody was sitting around the TV set, you know, watching a program and then talking about it. But reality is that, you know, people tend not to watch television very much. In any case, you have to be very careful and very discreet and very positive and very creative and very patient about how you approach activities with the family. And I will say, be particularly careful about food, okay? Because for every Spanish family, their food is their pride and joy, all right? I'm from England. In England, people save money on food when they go shopping. They go to the supermarket and sometimes they go at the end of the day because prices are reduced on some articles. Sometimes they buy brand names, own brand names from supermarkets because it's cheaper. They recycle food. They keep some from today and warm it up tomorrow. Absolutely fine. I'm talking about families of all different classes. The Spanish families tend not to. The food is their kind of pride and joy, and it's the last thing they're going to cut back on. Okay, right. Where do Spanish people live? Where do Spanish people live? Okay, so we got 4 kinds of. The first one is your typical, absolutely typical Spanish barrio. Barrio. Let's put that word in there. A barrio. Okay, the barrio, which means the neighborhood. If you look at this picture, I can tell you there's absolutely no way to tell if this is upmarket, low income. You just don't know from the look of the houses. Okay. Spanish people tend to live in flats, apartments. Okay. This would be absolutely typical, right? And Spanish people tend not to move very much. So it's not, well, you know, might have a better job and after a few years, we're going to move to a nicer place. You could do, if you move to a nicer place, it would probably be like the one here on the right. So these are terraced houses. Probably within the house, there's not much more room than in their flat. But they might have a little garden, they've got their own parking space, you know, and it gives the sense of having a bit more freedom. They tend to be then less in urban areas and more in strictly residential areas. Okay. So that was what we might call in Spanish the urba, okay, the urbanización, okay. The urbanización means a housing estate, basically, which has been, you know, specifically designed for this kind of residential community. Those tend to be outside of the city, residential areas. I'm trying to think, you know, if you were in Tolosa, like Regan, it's probably going to be like 10 minutes walk to the city center. All right. So if you were in Madrid or Valencia on an urbanización, it's probably going to be like 25, 30 minutes to the city center from there. Okay. If you're in Ontinyent, again, probably be about 20 minutes to the city center. Although there are particular features of different regions, so you might find it a little bit different. And then you've got your, you know, at the third one down here. I'm not sure if people would really, is what they would call a chalet, okay, which is a house on its own. And it probably, if you're from Australia, it probably looks like more like your house. I really don't know where you live. Actually, I shouldn't have said that. But you know, a nice big garden. Not many people live in a house like this in Spain. Okay, and the one on the right, sorry, on the right at the bottom, that would be a kind of downtown. Normally, those older houses, older apartments, would tend to be in the city centre. Again, we don't have too many families like that. We might have a couple in Valencia, just one or two, even though their kids go to a school on the outskirts. The school might be in an urbanización, but they might live downtown. Okay. And then they tend to be kind of quite high income. So in any case, you will have, if you're going to Zamora, all right, the province of Zamora, you might be living in a house like this, actually, a nice big house, a big chalet, right? Because Spanish people's dream is to have their house built in the village where their parents or family are from, and be able to go there weekends or holidays or live there year round. Right. Okay. However, you will be given your own room. You might not have your own bathroom, all right? In which case, you've got to share it probably with the kids, and you're going to have to work out times, okay? You're going to have to work out shower times. We had this has been an issue with our German, with the last intake. I mean, they were German, it's just a coincidence. But just the fact that they were the last intake of volunteers who were mainly German, but it applied also to English and New Zealand volunteer who came at the same time. And the families just commented in general, please, you know, in our house, it's like the parents normally have a shower in the morning, but the kids have a shower at night because it's less hassle for us. You know, if we can get them all showered and into bed, then much better than having everybody shower in the morning. Okay, so work out a kind of timetable. All right. if you spend a lot of time doing your hair or doing, I don't know, putting your piercings in, I don't know what you have to do in the morning, then, you know, factor that in. Maybe you have to get up a little bit earlier. And obviously on Friday, when most of you won't be doing any volunteer work, sleep in and, you know, shine up your piercing, your jewels or whatever it is you put in, and take, you know, take advantage to not get up at 6:30 to do these things. Okay. That is important, actually. It is important, you know, the kind of the hygiene aspect. And nobody is ever going, oh, these people don't shower. No, it's not a case of that. It's just a case of, what's it a case of? Yeah, it's more the shower time. Sometimes also depending on whether they have hot water, which is gas, electric, or however it's heated, or even solar, they might say, well, look, we have a limit on the amount of hot water in the morning, in the afternoon. Might be something as similar, as simple as that. So be prepared. All right. I'm going to tell you another thing, actually, about hygiene at home. Obviously, you have to work with the family, but when do I wash my clothes? How do I wash my clothes? What's the system here? And we ask the families to kind of walk you through it. The family might have a tumble dryer. They might say, you do all your washing together one day of a week, or they might say, just put your washing in and we will all do it together. You know, each family, every family is different. Very few families use laundrettes, although they are becoming more popular in Spain. Okay. And relatively few families have tumble dryers, so they kind of hang things up to dry. So you need to sort out with them. When I was working at a language school, I was working at an English school many years ago, and it was a really funny thing which I couldn't understand at all. I used to give classes at 8 o'clock in the morning and other classes which would go until 10 o'clock in the evening. So it's absolutely fantastic timetable. I work 8 till 10 in the morning, and then I work 6 till 10 at night. Wow, I had the whole day, 10 till 6, free to do whatever I liked. It was brilliant. Okay, but in the mornings, after a few weeks, I noticed that the people coming in at 8 o'clock in the morning, there was a whole load of smells which I was not used to. I was not used to them at all. And then I realized, well, all these people come in, and you know, this guy smells of like, what, of like he's been in a bar all night smoking. What's going on? And this other one, she smells of like fried eggs, and the other one smells of, you know, they're all kind of decent, you know, nothing really unpleasant. But what I realized is a lot of Spanish people, believe me, they would wear the same clothes from the previous evening first thing in the morning. Okay. So the main effect was, you knew if these people had been out the night before to have a couple of drinks, because back then you could smoke in bars and pubs and places and everywhere. So they would invariably smell of cigarette smoke, whether they smoked or not. Okay, because it was on their clothes. Or you'd be able to know exactly what they'd had for dinner the night before, because they tend to have dinner very late, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the evening. And you, wow, those fried eggs and chips, yeah, I can smell that. Or those, you know, the fried fish, which your mum was cooking up last night, it's on your coat or on your sweater, which you've decided to wear in the morning. So be mindful of that. Be mindful of that, please. All right. I think it still happens. I think it still happens. Okay, so maybe it's good to have like a sweater or a fleece, or I don't know, something which you wear at home, you know, to be around the house. The funny thing also, Spanish people during the day, if they don't go out, they stay in their pajamas sometimes. Another thing they do is, as soon as they get home, kind of maybe 6, 7 in the evening after work, the first thing they do is they put on their pajamas, right? I've never done this. Nobody in my family does this. But I go to people's homes and, you know, to maybe go and visit some of the volunteer host families. And indeed, they are there in their pajamas sometimes. Okay. You don't have to do that yourself. Anyway, Spanish homes. Okay, just write down. What do you think? What do you think? In the chat box. Do you think, are they clean or dirty? Clean or dirty? Generally. Write down in the chat box. What do you think? Clean, 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 clean. All right, there's 5 clean. So yeah, absolutely. God, they're spotless. Absolutely spotless. Even like guys, students living together, that, you know, they have such a good cleaning ritual. Okay, mopping the floor, scrubbing the floor, cleaning the windows. Crikey. All right. So, empty or full? Are they full of things, or are they quite empty as regards kind of design or objects, things they have around the house? Or do you think they like a more kind of open plan, basic, you know, full? Absolutely. They're full of stuff. Crikey. Yeah, full of furniture and full of photographs of the whole family. Yeah. Yeah. Are they quiet or noisy, Spanish homes? Do you think they're quiet or noisy? Yeah, they are noisy, okay? You're going to have to adapt to this. Have to adapt to the fact that Spanish people are noisy and that Spanish homes are noisy. And when Spanish people are talking to each other, it's very easy for the noise level to go up, okay, to the point where you think maybe there's some sort of problem, some sort of conflict. No, it's just the way they speak, okay? And there will come a point, if your Spanish isn't very good at the beginning, there will come a point where you get lost, okay? And it can be distressing, all right? And if there are arguments or so on, you let me know. One of our volunteers at the moment is asking me what's going on at home, because I am hearing the family arguing, you know, talking about their own problems. You know, I don't feel comfortable. So there's a limit, you know, once it goes above that, let me know. I will talk to the school or talk to your tutor at the school if that happens. Okay. New or old? Do they like new things or old things in their homes? It's a difficult one, isn't it? Are they new or old? Old, new, old. Yeah, and it's almost the same, actually, traditional or modern. You're going to have a mixture, okay? So, you know, well, I think the main thing, whatever they're like, new or old, they're going to be absolutely spotless. I'm thinking about good friends of mine. They got a heap of money. Oh, they're so rich, you know. They are so rich, and yet they have not, you know, they've got an apartment. They live in this flat. I guess they've been there for 30 years or something with their kids. They haven't changed anything. All right, so it's the same furniture, seats, kitchen, everything. Absolutely the same, but it's absolutely spotless. Okay, so you're going to have to get used. There's going to be a mixture of things. Okay, a mixture of things there. Right. Are they warm or cold, Spanish homes? They're very warm to the visitor, of course. They're very welcoming, okay? You will be made welcome. They will say, this house is your house. Our home is your home. That is one of the most welcoming and most beautiful of Spanish expressions. You have a home here, okay? They will tell you and they will mean it, all right? This is your home, all right? And treat it like as such, all right? They are warm. You're going to have to get used to, you know, the central heating arrangements. Spain is a very hot country. Do they always use air conditioning? They might not. People find it uncomfortable. So they have this, you know, great system whereby in the summer where it's very hot, what they do is they open all the windows first thing in the morning as soon as they get up. Or earlier, they might even get up to open the windows to let the cool air in and the warm air out. And then they close all the windows and shut the blinds, and that keeps it nice and cool, at least until about, you know, for a good few hours. And it's a really comfortable temperature. But you have to see, what do? Do they turn it up? Do they turn it down? Have I got individual heating, which I can control? Is it air? Is it central radiators? You might find that this affects whether they want the doors to be open or the doors to be closed during the day. Because if it's a kind of air-conditioned type heating, which is going on throughout the house, if you close the doors, then it doesn't flow. So you might find, oh, I closed my door this morning when I left, and yet I come back and it's open, you know. So it could be because of that. Are they light or dark, Spanish homes? Light or dark? Light. Okay, now I've been here for 30 years. And the one thing I can't understand is why Spanish people are not particularly concerned with having natural light. Okay, so you might find that the home you're in seems to be quite dark. Why is that? And it might be the way that it's been designed, or it might be because of the kind of furniture they put in. My only explanation is that they spend so much time outdoors, out of the home, that they're not particularly worried about this. Okay. So anyway, those are just some things about Spanish homes. But Spanish people are very proud. Okay, very, very proud. All right. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to go for a couple of things now. I'm just going to ask you for about 10 minutes to discuss these things together. Family takes you, okay, challenges. I will talk you through the first one, okay? The family takes you to an extended family gathering, which go on for hours, okay? Particularly if you're living in places like Zamora, in and around Valencia, okay? They take you out, you're going to meet the grandparents, you're going to meet the cousins, aunties, uncles. They all come up to you, they all hug you and give you 2 kisses. And you go, what time are we going? Oh, well, we're going, the lunch or whatever this gathering is starts at 2 o'clock. Off we go, 2 o'clock. But you forgot to ask what time it finishes, okay? And the reason they didn't tell you what time it finishes is because Spanish people are very good at telling you when something will begin. But it is very common that there is no specific finishing time, okay? And the challenge for you is that you are at these gatherings and they go on and on and on. You thought it was lunch, 90 minutes, 2 hours. Lunch turns into, let's go for a walk. Lunch turns into, oh, let's go back home and watch a video of so-and-so's wedding. That turns into, oh, is anybody hungry? Do you fancy a snack? That turns into, there's a great movie. Why don't we watch it? That turns in, oh, it's already supper time. No, come on, let's get a takeaway. Wow, you've been there for 6 to 8 hours. For the family, they are all feeling very comfortable and enjoying it. I know from experience, mother volunteers, this is something which can be a challenge, because the more they speak and the more they're enjoying themselves, sometimes the less you actually understand, because your limit, your saturation has been reached, okay? You can always call me, right? Or if you feel easier, you can say, okay, there's a family celebration, starts at 2 o'clock. Listen, I'm just going to tell the family that I've arranged to speak to my family back at home at 6 o'clock. I've given them 4 hours, that's max. You know, will I be able to get back alone? Do I need anybody to give me a lift back? Okay, so those long social gatherings can be a challenge, all right? Okay. Do this one together, or give me some suggestions, please, in the chat box. I wish the chat box were anonymous, but someone in the family is making you feel uncomfortable. In which way? What would you do? Write down, please. Yeah, which ways do you think you could be made to feel uncomfortable, and by whom? Okay. So you could feel uncomfortable because you could feel uncomfortable. Here's one, because you know that one of the kids is going through your bags and your personal belongings, all right? And that makes you feel uncomfortable. What would you do? Right? So that, I can tell you, it is absolutely natural. But it's absolutely natural. You speak to the parents in that case. They're absolutely natural. Kids, when you are an adult, you're coming into their home, and kids are going to feel two things: threatened by your use of their space, and obviously very excited and very curious. And one of the very curious things is that you have worn or used some particular garment or item which they've never seen before, and they are absolutely fascinated and they want to see it. And wow, you know, look at those sneakers, or look at that hat or something. They want to go in and they just can't control their own curiosity. But absolutely,
Yeah.
you'd speak to families.
Yeah.
Any other situations which would make you feel uncomfortable? Write down an example in the chat box.
Johnny, your mic's on, mate.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, write it down, please. Write down examples of this, please. What about them asking questions you don't feel comfortable answering, which is funny, isn't it? They might say, oh, but in your country, are there bicycles? What? Are there trees? What? Of course there are. Okay, so don't confuse ignorance with curiosity. They're probably asking, are there trees like our trees? You know, or they might be asking, what they really mean is, do people use bicycles around the city? Okay, but there might be, questions about your personal space, about your family. Keep things simple. Keep things simple. You know, do you have a boyfriend? Do you have a girlfriend? You know, I'm not sure if that would make you feel uncomfortable. If they asked about your sexuality, that's a bit too intimate, actually. It's none of their business. You know, it will become apparent over time. Okay. Okay. About your politics. That might be well, you're going to live together. You might as well start talking. Okay. And start asking. They're asking you, you can ask them. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? Some international event. Yep. Okay. Someone in the family is making you feel uncomfortable. Obviously, we would be, we know if there's somebody of a similar age to you, they might be making you feel uncomfortable in the sense that they are competing with you, or they want to compete with you, or it looks like they're trying to compete with you. Well, you know, be mature. Don't get involved in a competition, okay? Don't get involved in any kind of competition. So you might have, yeah, I mean, it might be about how you dress or how they dress, and you notice they're really dressing up all the time. You be yourself. You are yourself, okay? You get here and you see that people are dressing in a different way and you want to try that out. Do it. Go for it. Enjoy it, okay? See how you feel afterwards, okay? My son, who's 17, says, hey, I need a few T-shirts. I go, all right. He goes, he's taller than me. All right. He goes to the gym. He's like, yeah, could you buy me like extra small? Extra small? What do you want extra small for? Yeah, because he wants to show off his muscles, right? Well, it's all right. You know, I don't mind. I think you look stupid, but you know, it's up to you. Do what you like. Okay. What I would say, those things are things you can comment on. I think when there's uncomfortable questions, you probably want to speak to your tutor, okay? You can speak to me, speak to other volunteers. Your support network primarily will be made up of other volunteers who will be able to say, well, yeah, I'm getting asked that same question. Isn't it strange? Or the same things happening to me with comments about the showers, the hot water, and so on. Okay, so compare. Let's see what is the norm, what is normal, and what's not normal. Okay. I would take any kind of very personal or intimacy which you don't feel comfortable with, anything like that. I would take it very, very seriously. Tell me, okay? You can always tell me. You can tell Laura, who is my colleague, okay? Obviously, she's female. So if there is something which you think is important, you are welcome to speak to her. She's actually an expert on gender issues, all right? So you can speak you'll have her WhatsApp contact. We take anything like that very, very seriously. However, Spanish people are physical, okay? There's hugging and hugging, you know this, all right? There's back slapping and back slapping, right? So, and Spanish people's personal space tends to be much more reduced, all right, than other countries, especially the UK or the United States or Canada, all right? So, yeah, uncomfortable. If they were asking you for money, all right? If they're asking you for money, you must tell us immediately. Same thing, you feel the family are asking you to spend too much time with the children. Speak to your tutor, please, okay? We have this ladder of support, all right? So immediate one is going to be you, other volunteers, the family themselves, if you need help, okay? Then it's your tutor. Okay, you're adults, you're coming as adults, and there are challenges which you have to overcome. Next would be, obviously, speak to me. You can tell me all these things and I'll be happy to give you advice, or Laura, but also, you know, you need to manage your own affairs at home, okay? Things which people don't do in Spain. With the family, you know, you don't, well, I'm not coming home tonight. What? We're responsible for you. We are responsible for you whilst you're in Spain. Where are you staying? Okay. I'm going to an all-night party. Are you? Which party is this? In that case, they're going to be quite strict because they are responsible for you. In those cases, if you want to go to an all-night party, if you think that I'm going out, I'm going to stay in so-and-so's house because I've been invited to stay over, I would say first of all, you have to clear it with the family. Secondly, maybe keep those things for the weekends you go away, right? So those weekends when you can get together with other volunteers and listen, we're going to go to Barcelona, or we're going to go to Madrid, we're going to meet up here, there, or whatever it is. Keep your partying and your late nights for those weekends, please. Okay. Then you don't have to give any explanations. We had a wonderful volunteer, didn't come home one night early in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning. Fair enough, it was June, 6 o'clock in the morning. I've got messages, so-and-so's not come home. What should we do? So I send out messages to this person, doesn't reply, send out message to other people, doesn't reply, no replies. However, I'm told this person is safe. Well, hold on, somebody knows something. So the volunteer then kind of 9 o'clock, 3 hours later, sends me a message. Oh, you know, met some wonderful people. I slept in the park. Said, what? You slept in the park? Okay, that doesn't happen. I don't know if it happens elsewhere. You slept in a park? Really? The only people who sleep in parks are homeless people, actually, you know, in Spain. However, in her society, in her culture, it was something which people do in the summer together, groups of friends. It actually sounds quite like good fun. Anyway, it was not true, obviously, because people don't sleep in parks in Spain. She'd met somebody, gone off with that person, spent the night. Well, there we go. Didn't feel comfortable telling the family. You wouldn't. Okay. Anyway, challenges. You will have challenges. Perfect families. Here's our things to expect. Just things to expect. And we're going to finish now for the moment because we can have another session talking about families when we get together. Okay. This is part of our normal five-part orientation. Perfect families. Normally in Spain, both parents will work if there are two parents at home. They will tend to work, go out in the mornings and be back 3, 4 in the afternoon. Perfect families in Spain, people want a job for life. People are not that ambitious about getting huge salaries. What they want is a job for life, preferably in the public sector. That is every Spanish person's dream. Okay? They're not particularly worried about what kind of job it is. They're not vocational in that sense. Work-life balance is very, very weighted on having a good life, having a comfortable life rather than expressing yourself through your job. Okay, very low birth rate in Spain. It's 1.2. Wow, it's crazy. So we have an aging population. Yep, and they tend to be small families. Okay, a good salary in Spain, a very, very good salary in Spain would be 3,500 euros a month. Okay, even if that was one earner or two earners, you know, they would be living relatively comfortably, by no means luxury. Okay. Average age of leaving home is 26. Average marriage age is 32. So once they've got the job for life, then they get married, not before. Leave home at 26. Wow, you guys are leaving home at 17, 18, 19. That like it does not, their mindset, they need time to get around this, and we're telling them all the time, you gap year students, or you know, but you're not kids. We want you to be treated as adults. That is a source of some misunderstanding. Okay, they're secular. Some parents might have strong or very defined religious views. Many will not. Okay, you need to ask. They will tell you. Right? Some families can be. Some families live in communities where it is the church which defines the community, or the church defines the school, which defines the community. Therefore, many activities are centered around the church, and they might seem religiously oriented, but in fact, it's more community oriented. That's the case in San Francesco in Guadalajara. I can tell you right now. Okay, they're not particularly religious, but they like to celebrate everything. Okay. And if they say we're all going to church or some religious festival, go, right? Because it's not really a religious celebration. It's more like a community celebration. Okay, and we're also finding increased immigration from Morocco, EU, Colombia, Peru, Ecuador, and Africa. So I think Frida will be able to empathize with this. She will have seen in Germany the very similar situation that people arrive, they tend to occupy lower paying jobs, but as time goes on, they kind of go up the social ladder, as it were, and integrate further. Okay, so those are things you're going to see. All right, those are families. Okay, we can talk about timetables and other things at another date because we do need to get on. So for the moment, I'm just going to ask you about families. Remember, you will be getting introductions from families. They will be contacting you in the next 5 to 7 days. Any questions about families? Here's one. Can we change family if you're not happy? That will depend on the placement. So if you're not happy with a family, can we change? It depends on the placement because it is the placement that provides the families. Okay. And one of the things that we will be making sure of is the problem with the family, or do you need just a little bit more time to adjust? Yeah.
Josh, for the visa application, we need to know our address in Spain. Is there any chance we can get that before the 5 to 7 days so that we can send that off as soon as possible?
Your address should be the same as the school address, okay, for the visa.
Okay. Right. No worries. Thank you.
Okay. So I'll stay online 20 minutes afterwards to talk about visas and so on. But for the moment, I wanted to focus on families, any family affairs, anything you're worried about.
Mine's about transport. Do they drive us, or will any time throughout the year we be driving our like cars, or like is it just trains and them driving us to schools?
Yeah, you won't be driving. You shouldn't be driving. However, we have had 2 placements have said, you know, we've got a car with the volunteers like to drive. I think you'd have to check your insurance to see if you're covered. Okay. Rike, who's just across the river from you, Regan, she's brought her camper van. She drove down from Germany, right? So she's driving every day. No, you wouldn't have to drive, not as part of the placement, not as part of the family.
Okay, cool. It's just a random question I've had in my mind for a while.
Yeah, a good one to have. I would advise you not to drive, you guys, whilst you're here, okay? Because Spanish roads are safe, but it's no fun at all driving around towns or cities, right? People are generally quite inconsiderate to other road users. Okay, so they got this thing like parking by ear, right? So, you know, but you've all got really modern cars which have kind of sensors and go beep, beep, beep when you're getting close to the car behind or in front when you're parking kind of parallel, right? In Spanish, you know, you see people parking in Spanish cities on the street and they kind of going back. And as soon as they feel they've touched the car behind, oh, it's time to stop. Okay. I'm not joking, right? I'm not joking. Or they tend to park too close together, so you open your door and it knocks into the door of the next car along, and they kind of like try and brush it over with their elbow, make sure nobody's noticed. But you know, so would I want responsibility for somebody else's car? Probably not. Okay. Nothing else about families? I'll give it 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, we're going to stop now the recording.